What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. For all you guys that are new here, my name is Tim and I'm a NPC men's physique competitor. So we've got a really exciting video today, guys. I'm going to talk about my 5 top tips for anyone that wants to get into bodybuilding. So this can be anywhere from your first time competitor all the way up to like your seasoned competitor. I think you can find some useful information here. So definitely looking forward to bringing this one to you guys. So these are not going to be in any specific order, but they all have some importance. So tip number 1 is going to be hire a coach. So for the first, 3 to 4 years of my lifting career, I was uncoached. I was just kind of your everyday guy going to the gym pretty much with no plan, no structure, and sure as hell didn't have any kind of nutrition guidance. So, I made some progress, but it was definitely not optimal. So with that being said, I guess I made gains, but definitely could have made more. But ended up, story time here. So ended up, competing in my first show. So I dieted myself down, like I said, without a coach for 24 weeks. And guys, when I tell you it was a fucking mess on stage, it was bad. I looked like a watery, stringy sack of shit, if I'm being honest. Ended up being on stage at 138 pounds, which is honestly even embarrassing to say. But so the following Monday, I hired a coach. I hired him like a week out, but we started actually working together the Monday post show. And from that Monday, fast forward 18 months, we were peak off season, bigger than I'd ever been, stronger than I'd ever been, and completely trusted the process the entire way. He did all my macros, all my training, the whole 9 yards. We did our first show together after about an 18-month off season. We actually did the same show 2 years later. So I competed at NPC Battle at the River in 2022. And then did the same show in 2024. So had that long off season and ended up coming back on stage at 165 pounds in better condition. So if you do the math, that is a 27 pound stage weight increase. And I don't know if that sounds like a lot or not to you guys, but in the bodybuilding space, that's a fuckload of weight when it comes to actual stage weight. So I definitely contribute that success to hiring a coach, having a structured off season, having macros to follow and hit every day. Now, obviously there was some balance mixed in with that as well, with free meals and, definitely some looseness around the holidays and that kind of thing. But having a structured macro plan and training plan was paramount to the progress that I made. So that's gonna bring us to point number 2, or tip number 2, I apologize. Have a good support system. So that was honestly the biggest game changer when it came to my second prep. So my first prep, I was single, lived alone, just typical bachelor. And the prep was insane. I felt miserable, I felt terrible, especially with, when the PEDs really ramped up for that prep. It was honestly it was brutal. But again, I had coached myself for that show, so my approach definitely wasn't the best. But either way, it was just not a good experience. So with this second show in 2024, I have to give a lot of props to my girlfriend Chrisaya for this. She, we lived together, and it was actually the first time she'd ever dated a competitor, so she had no idea what to expect. But she was actually my rock through the whole prep. She really held me down, didn't let me get in my head, and honestly didn't let me feel bad for myself, because it was a choice. Competing is a choice, and you have to know that going in. But having someone you can talk to and lean on when those days are really, really tough, it made a huge difference. Honestly, it made a big difference, I think, in my overall look as well. But, and another thing you have to think about with that, guys, too, yes, I say you need to have that structure, you need to have that support system, but sometimes you might honestly have to work on that yourself too. You might have to actually build that with your family, with your friends, because they, it might be like my girlfriend and just, never dated a competitor, so she has no idea what to expect, going in. So you might have to, hey babe, hey mom, hey dad, whoever, there's going to be days where you feel really rough. And I'm probably going to be in a little bit of a grouchy mood, or, when carbs get low, or, cardio gets really high, you're really fatigued in the prep, just come to them like, hey guys, I don't have anything to give. And hopefully, if they're, in your corner, they'll pick up where you leave off, or, be a little more understanding. But a lot of that comes back to you guys actually communicating that as well. So that's definitely another point to keep in mind. But yeah, that a good support system is crucial in success, especially when you get down to the end of prep too, when fatigue is high, carbs high, or cardio is high, carbs are low, and cortisol is a big deal. So that cortisol level, the stress management side of things, that really impacts your overall stage look. So having someone that can take the pressure off of you on those low days really helps with that, from in my experience. But let's go to tip number 3. Don't rush the process, guys. So if you've done like I've suggested and hired a coach, and you come to your coach, 6 weeks into working together, and you're like, hey coach, I want to do this show in 12 weeks. And you're eating 1,800 calories a day, and you're already doing 45 minutes of cardio, and you're 30 pounds over stage weight, and your coach looks at you and goes, nah bro, this ain't it. We're not in a good place to start a prep. And you get mad, maybe hire a new coach that'll crash diet you in and end up looking like a sack of assholes on stage. That's not it. So do not trust your coach. Listen to your coach, and don't try to rush the process. So if you're not ready, if your metabolism's not in a good spot to compete, or you can go the other way around, say you've done 2 or 3 shows and you keep getting second call outs, or maybe you get second at your local regional show and you're excited, you want to go to nationals, and your coach is like, look, we honestly need a long off season to be competitive. Take that advice. Don't try to rush and just run into nationals and get last call outs at nationals. That's not the objective, especially if you're actually wanting to go pro. So that's another tip, guys. Keep that in mind. Don't rush the process, and listen to your coach. So step number 4, don't compare yourself to others on social media. Guys, social media is nothing but a highlight reel. So personally, my last prep, that is something I struggled with majorly. So you would see all the guys on Instagram, on TikTok, they look like they're peeled out of their fucking mind. And, maybe you see them backstage, or you see some stage shots of them, and they look nowhere near, as good as they did in, on the Instagram with the filters, or on TikTok or whatever. They get fresh out of the sauna with a pump and they look freaky as hell, but you see them backstage and you're like, oh, okay, you're nowhere near what I thought you were. And that's actually something that happened to me personally in this past prep. So story time, I had met a couple at the show in 2022 at my first show, and they were super cool. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but followed each other on Instagram, that kind of thing. And they had actually, or the wife of the couple is actually a coach, or says she is. I don't really know how successful she is in that regard. I don't really care. But she'd actually slid up on a story where I'd posted some posing videos and that kind of thing, and was asking about my nutrition plan, and who's writing my diet, and X, Y, Z. And I told her that I was trusting the process, because I was a little bit behind, if I'm being honest, prep wise. Well, I was like, I'm trusting the process, and just kind of left it at that. Well, she slides up a picture of her husband that she had prepped, and I'm not gonna lie, dude's a classic competitor. He's big, he was full, He was shredded to the bone in those pictures she sent me. And we actually did the same show together again in 2024. And I'm gonna tell you guys, like, he was a big dude. He still looked really good. He was in shape, but he looked nowhere near like he did, coming in, on Instagram. So definitely keep that in mind, guys, and just don't compare yourself to others. Worry about bringing your best. And that's exactly what I did in my last show. I could have been tighter, could have been bigger, whatever, but I know what I need to work on. I know it needs to be improved. And most importantly, I improved on my last showing. And that is all that really matters at the end of the day, because ultimately, guys, you can't control who shows up to these shows. That is something, that's what makes bodybuilding fun. That's what makes it interesting. So, yeah, guys, just don't compare yourself to others. Don't fall into the trap of, searching the show hashtag, or, like watching the stories of the show promoters and, going and creeping on everyone that, that's tagging that particular show or anything like that. Because honestly, it's not going to do you any good. You're just going to watch their highlight reel. And those pictures that you see on Instagram, they're irrelevant. You have no idea what they're going to show up and look like on stage. It could be, my case where the guy looked good, but it was nowhere near as peeled as he looked on Instagram. Or, they could honestly be as peeled as they are on Instagram. You don't really know. But that's what makes the sport fun. That's what makes it interesting. So keep that in mind, guys. So that brings us to our fifth and final point, guys. And honestly, this one should probably be first. Well, I'm going to say this one should probably be second to hiring a coach, but practice posing daily, and start sooner than you think. Do not wait, guys, until you are 4 weeks out and say, oh, I was in dance class, or I'm a really good dancer, or whatever it is. I'll be able to pick up posing super fast. Guys, you're fucking wrong. That's just it. Posing is incredibly difficult, and until you actually start posing, you'll realize really quickly that it's way harder than you thought it was, and you probably should have started it sooner. So definitely, even before prep starts, start going through poses. I know it's a little tougher in the off season, maybe you're carrying a little extra body fat and that kind of thing, but I'm telling you guys, it's worth taking the time to do some rounds in the off season. Obviously, you're not going to need to do quite as much in the off season as you would in a prep, but leading into a prep, start getting in the routine of, depending on what division you're in, but hitting your mandatories. For your coach, just run through a round of mandatories and just get comfortable, getting in those positions. Because I'm gonna tell you guys, when you get on stage and when you get under those lights, you will be very thankful that you practiced, because when you get on stage, there's so much going through your head. There's so many different emotions going on that the last thing you want to do is have to think about posing. So, at that point, posing should just be second nature. It should just be come in, open up, hit your shots, and go home, or, get off stage and collect your medals and go home at the end of the day. So that's about as much thought as you really need to put into it on stage. So you should, say 16 weeks out, start drilling that posing daily. Going through prep, honestly, I started a little later than I thought, than I should have. I started really practicing my posing around 10 weeks out, but I would do 3 to 5 rounds fasted in the morning, followed by 3 to 5 rounds fasted, or 3 to 5 rounds post meal, 4. So when I'd get home, I'd eat meal 4 and do 3 to 5 rounds. And something that really helped me with that is staying consistent, is I made myself upload all of those rounds. I would go through and pick my favorite round out of those sections, but I would make myself post it on Instagram, in my stories every day. Poor people on my Instagram were probably sick and fucking tired of seeing me pose, but I made that promise to myself, and that's how that's what helped me stay consistent. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up the 5 tips that I have for competitors. So thank you so much for watching, and definitely like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.